Cat in the Rain by Ernest Hemingway. Let's start first with who is Ernest Hemingway. He was a famous American writer born in 1899. He lived a life full of adventure. He was a soldier, a traveler, and a hunter. Because he was always on the move, he developed a very simple and direct way of writing. He is famous for the iceberg theory. He believed that a writer should only show a few surface details. The most important part of the story, the deep feelings and the secrets, are hidden under the water. As a reader, your job is to be a detective and find them. His story, Cat in the Rain, is a perfect mystery of human emotions. It takes place at a quiet hotel in Italy during a storm. Instead of telling you directly how the characters feel, Hemingway uses themes of loneliness, the desire for change, and the search for comfort. It explores a moment where a person realizes they want something more out of life, but they aren't sure how to get it. When you read it, ask yourself, what's the character really looking for? Let's start with the story, Cat in the Rain. There were only two Americans stopping at the hotel. They did not know any of the people. They passed on the stairs on their way up and from their room. Their room was on the second floor facing the sea. It also faced the public garden and the war monument. There were big palms and green benches in the public garden. In the good weather, there was always an artist with his easel. Artists like the way the palms grew and the bright colors of the hotel facing the gardens and the sea. Italians came from a long way off to look up at the war monument. It was made of bronze and glistened in the rain. It was raining. The rain dripped from the palm trees. Water stood in pools on the gravel paths. The sea broke in a long line in the rain and slipped back down the beach to come up and break again in a long line in the rain. The motor cars were gone from the square by the war monument. Across the square, in the doorway of the cafe, a waiter stood looking out at the empty square. The American wife stood at the window looking out. Outside, right under their window, a cat was crouched under one of the dripping green tables. The cat was trying to make herself so compact that she would not be tripped on. "I'm going down and get that kitty," the American wife said. "I'll do it," her husband offered from the bed. "No, I will get it." The poor kitty out, trying to keep dry under a table. The husband went on reading, lying propped up with the two pillows at the foot of the bed. "Don't get wet," he said. The wife went downstairs and the hotel owner stood up and bowed to her as she passed the office. His desk was at the far end of the office. He was an old man and very tall. "I'd pipe," the wife said. She liked the hotel keeper. "Si, signora, brutto tempo. It's very bad weather." He stood behind his desk in the far end of the dim room. The wife liked him. She liked the deadly serious way he received any complaints. She liked his dignity. She liked the way he wanted to serve her. She liked the way he felt about being a hotel keeper. She liked his old, heavy face and big hands. Liking him, she opened the door and looked out. It was raining harder. A man in a rubber cape was crossing the empty square to the cafe. The cat would be around to the right. Perhaps she could go along under the eaves. As she stood in the doorway, an umbrella opened behind her. It was the maid who looked after the room. "You must not get wet," she smiled, speaking Italian. Of course, the hotel keeper had sent her. With the maid holding the umbrella over her, she walked along the gravel path until she was under the window. The table was there, washed bright green in the rain, but the cat was gone. She was suddenly disappointed. The maid looked up at her. "Ha perduto qualche cosa, signora?" "There was a cat," said the American girl. "A cat? Sì, il gatto." "A cat?" The maid laughed. "A cat in the rain?" "Yes," she said, "under the table." Then, "Oh, I wanted so much. I wanted a kitty." When she talked English, the maid's face tightened. "Come, signora," she said. "We must get back inside. You will be wet." "I suppose so," said the American girl. They went back along the gravel path and passed in the door. The maid stayed outside to close the umbrella as the American girl passed the office. The padrone bowed from his desk.
Something felt very small and tight inside the girl. The padrone made her feel very small at the same time really important. She had a momentary feeling of being of supreme importance. She went up the stairs. She opened the door of the room. George was on the bed, reading. "Did you get the cat?" he asked, putting the book down. It was gone. "Wonder where it went to," he said, resting his eyes from reading. She sat down on the bed. "I wanted this so much," she said. "I don't know why I wanted it so much. I wanted that poor kitty. It isn't any fun to be a poor kitty out in the rain." George was reading again. She went over and sat in front of the mirror of the dressing table, looking at herself with the hand glass. She studied her profile, first one side and the other. Then she studied the back of her head and her neck. "Don't you think it would be a good idea if I let my hair grow out?" she asked, looking at her profile again. George looked up and saw the back of her neck, clipped close like a boy's. "I like it the way it is. I get so tired of it," she said. "I get so tired of looking like a boy." George shifted his position in the bed. He hadn't looked away from her since she started to speak. "You look pretty darn nice," he said. She laid the mirror down on the dresser and went over to the window and looked out. It was getting dark. "I want to pull my hair back tight and smooth and make a big knot at the back that I can peel," she said. "I want to have a kitty to sit on my lap and purr when I stroke her." "Yeah," George said from the bed. "And I want to eat at a table with my own silver, and I want candles, and I want it to be spring, and I want to brush my hair out and in front of a mirror, and I want a kitty, and I want some new clothes." "Oh, shut up and get something to read," George said. He was reading again. His wife was looking out of the window. It was quite dark now and still raining in the palm trees. "Anyway, I want a cat," she said. "I want a cat. I want a cat now. If I can't have a long hair or any fun, I can have a cat." George was not listening. He was reading his book. His wife looked out of the window where the light had come on the sky. Someone knocked at the door. "Avanti," George said. He looked from his book. In the doorway stood the maid. He held a big tortoiseshell cat pressed tight against her and swung down against her body. "Excuse me," she said. "The padrone asked me to bring this for the signora."
Now let's start with the activities. Task 1. Below are 3 quotes from the story. Analyze the hidden intent behind the words. Select the most accurate interpretation based on the mood of the scene and justify your choice with a brief linguistic analysis. Example, tone, word choice, or punctuation. "I'm going down and get that kitty," the American wife said. A. She's bored and needs a simple physical task. B. She's searching for an emotional connection or something to nurture that's missing in the room. C. She's annoyed by the rain and wants to prove she can handle the weather. Now analysis requirements. Why does Hemingway use the word kitty here instead of cat? What does this shift in vocabulary suggest about her state of mind? You can find the answer in the answer key section. Now let's task 2. Choose the correct answer according to the text. In the opening paragraph, Hemingway describes the war monument as being made of bronze and glistening in the rain. What does the focus of this monument infer? A. The story is primarily a historical account of World War I. B. A contrast between the permanent strength of history and the couple's current instability. C. The monument is the main reason the couple chose this specific hotel. D. That the weather in Italy is too harsh for outdoor tourism. Number 2. When the wife sees the cat, she says, "I'm going down and get that kitty." What does the shift to the word kitty infer about her state of mind? A. She is projecting a scene of vulnerability and desire for affection onto the animal. B. She has a professional background in veterinary science. C. She is confused about the species of the animal she saw. D. She is trying to use Italian slang to impress the hotel staff. George responds to his wife's plan by saying, "I'll do it," but he doesn't move. What does this behavior suggest about their relationship? A. He is physically incapable of walking down the stairs. B. He believes the rain is not actually falling. C. He's waiting for her to ask him more politely. D. His offer is performative rather than sincere. There is a lack of active engagement. Number 4. The text states the wife liked the padrone, hotel owner. According to the story, what's the primary reason for this? A. He offered her a discount on the room. B. He reminded her of a family member from America. C. She appreciated the way he made her feel important and visible. D. He spoke perfect English, unlike the other staff. Number 5. When the wife is outside, the maid holds an umbrella over her. What does this specific scene infer? A. The wife is unable to hold an umbrella herself. B. A contrast between the care she receives from strangers versus her husband. C. That the hotel has raised strict rules about guests getting wet. D. That the maid is trying to prevent the wife from finding the cat. Number 6. The wife looks in the mirror and asks, "Do you think it would be a good idea if I let my hair grow out?" What does this question really infer? She's seeking a change in her identity or a scene of newness. B. She is worried about the cost of haircuts in Italy. C. She wants to hide her face from the hotel owner. D. Her husband has explicitly told her he prefers long hair. Number 7. Hemingway describes the square as empty. What does this word describe besides the physical space? A. The lack of tourists in Italy during the 1920s. B. That the cat has successfully escaped to another town. C. That the shops are closed for a public holiday. D. The emotional void or emptiness between the husband and wife. Number 8. What does the absence of a first name for the American wife infer? A. Hemingway forgot to give her a name. B. Her identity is defined entirely by her relationship to her husband. C. She is a secret agent traveling under a code name. D. She's not a real person but a ghost in the hotel. The word pondrum is used instead of manager. What does this choice of vocabulary imply about the atmosphere? A. It highlights the foreign, other setting and the scene of traditional authority. B. It suggests the hotel is actually a private residence. C. It shows that the wife is fluent in Italian. D. It's a spelling error in the original manuscript. Number 10. The maid brings a tortoise shell cat at the end. How does this resolve the wife's earlier requests? A. It completely solves all of her emotional problems. B. It's a surface level gesture that may not satisfy her deeper symbolic want. C. It proves that the husband was right all along. D. It shows that the maid is the real protagonist of the story. Think about the answers and then after answering these tasks, check your answers by looking at the answer key section.
Task 3. Now evaluate the relationship between the husband and the wife. In 2-3 sentences, explain whether their relationship is balanced or unbalanced. Support your answers with one detail from the story. If you could change one thing in the story to improve the wife's situation, what would you change? It can be the husband's behavior, the ending, the setting, or a specific moment. Then, how would this change affect the meaning of the story? Explain it briefly.